Okay, so we're going to give an enum example, and it's actually, all right, so here's, we create, it's a new class, a new type of thing. It's not a class, it's sort of like a class. Now here, because I have actually created some, it gives it to me on the pop-up. But when you first do it, it may not be there. If it isn't there, you go to Other, and then under Java, there's a Java enum. So, a better way to represent the suits would be to use this enum. But when I gave you the assignment, you didn't know about that. So we used a string instead. And the way it works is, as you say, normally what we would see here is public class, the name, but instead we see public enum. You see enum is in blue, and so it's a keyword. And so here's all I do. And the convention is that they tend to be in uppercase. They can be anything you want. The convention for static variables is uppercase, so that's I could give it regular case if I wanted, but and again, they could be regular case. It doesn't have to be this, but no. Okay. So what have I done here? I've defined a type. Okay. So suit like a class is a user-defined type, and when I have a variable of this type, it can only be one of these four values or null. Those are the only possibilities. It is the compiler will prevent me from doing anything else. So let's see what this looks like. Again, just to sort of try it out. Okay. Well, first of all, I can get them by the same syntax as if I were calling a public class variable. So let's print out hearts. This. And if I just print that out, and then it's toString, it's toString just takes the name that I've defined it, and it gives me this. So this is actually a string. And this, though, is an object. And so what this is the toString of that object. So I can do something like let's say let's give it clubs. Okay, so what have I done here? I've defined a variable of type suit. Again, so it's an abstract data type. I've assigned it this particular instance. And so my suit is clubs. All right, now supposing all I have is the string. Now it has to exactly match. So, but let's say I have, okay, now here's a string. I've defined a string, and I'm calling it spades, and here's how I can get it. Suit value of the suit name. Okay, that's one of the helper methods. So again, I have a string, and I can go to the enum with a static method and actually get a suit. So again, like notice here, see I can't I can't do this. Okay, what does it complain? It says incompatible type string cannot be converted to suit. So that is, I can't do that. I can't do it by simply assigning it. But what I can do is I can say, all right, suit, what's the value of this? And let me, okay, so from the strips. Okay, so you see it actually got it. Now, what if I try to get something? Let's see. Now they changed this a little bit, but I'll probably just get an error. So I can see the value of, again, this in a way this kind of illustrates how things like strings and numbers, I mean, they can be just about anything. So value, the compiler says there's no problem because this method requires a string and you're giving it a string, so the compiler is happy, but the virtual machine is going to be unhappy because it says illegal argument exception, there's no enum constant called not a suit. Okay? And this is a good thing. Why? Because well, the value of this is, see, a lot of times what I may be doing is I may be reading an input file, and when I read an input file, I'm getting a string, but then I want to convert it into one of these enum objects like this. And so, say, I will read in an input file a string that's the suit is supposed to be, and then I go to try to get it. Now, in this case, it's a runtime exception, which, you know, the problem is the compile time exception can't pick that up because I'm passing it a legitimate argument. That is, it wants a string, I'm giving it a string, but I'm giving it the wrong string. So as soon as it hits that, it just says, you know, no can do. All right, so that's. And if I want the values. So if I just say values, all right, so let's okay, so now I'm going to get them all and just kind of print out what they are. So as you can see, if the values method returns an array which are, I mean, I call it all suits. Why? Because they're all the suits. And notice that it gives me 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is exactly the order that I have put these in. If I put them in a different order, so let's say I put them like this, then it will change it to do that. And and then finally, to code the other way. So let's say, what did I have up here? Okay, so let's do this spade suit. So okay, for each suit object now has an you say, notice how I'm doing it. Notice the difference in the way I'm calling these. The value of method has to be what? What kind of method? Just by looking at how it's being called. Yeah. Now, there are only two possibilities for methods. There are instance methods and class methods. So is it an instance method or a class method? It's a class method because, yeah, so in other words, it must be a class method because I'm invoking it with the name of a class, not an object. So class name dot method can only happen if it's a static or class method. On the other hand, this method ordinal is an instance method because I'm invoking it with an object. And that will return the ordinal value, that is the index of that particular one. Okay, so this should be 3. Okay, so and as you can see, spades has an index of 3, and so the enum itself kind of knows where it is in the place here. And then finally, let's put them in a switch statement. So let's do a switch on well, let's do a switch on the spade suit just because, you know. Okay, so now I don't know why I'm so excited about this, but oops. Okay, and then again with these you should always have a default. And the only possibility for this is null. The only thing that couldn't be one of these is if it's null. And I'll kind of try to show that. All right, so now. Okay, now notice no red squiggly, and I can give the cases here. So this is significantly more type safe. So, right, so it made it down to here. It said this is a spade. Just to okay, I can always null something out. All right, so now this is the only value besides these 4 that this could be. And now when I run it, it's going to say, oh. Yeah, it's actually not even going to let me get there because when I try to do the switch, see it totally locks it locks the programmer up from doing anything ridiculous. So it's very easy for object references to be null. As you have no doubt seen. I mean, even with the bit of Java programming we've done so far, it is almost guaranteed that each one of you have encountered a null pointer exception somewhere. Has anybody not encountered a null pointer exception? Yeah, that's very common. Why? Because, I mean, and here's a case of, again, null pointer exception. Why? And again, what NetBeans is very cool in that it'll, when you click on the link, it'll show you exactly what happened. So what happened is, right when I did this switch on null, the virtual machine said, hey, a switch statement has to be on an actual no kidding value. So it is literally impossible. In fact, what I can say, I would replace with this can never happen. Never say never, of course. So even if you know it can never happen, still put the default in, just because you never know. Okay, so this won't work here. Well, tell you, let me. What I can do though, and there's no preventing this, is that I can set that. And again, the Java has no. See, when you read this, it looks like I'm trying to make that be a spade, but I've actually made it a heart. Again, Java, like all programming languages, is really stupid, because it does exactly what you tell it to and not what you want it to. So here I'm telling it that a variable called spade suit is actually a heart. And now if I do the switch on it, I'll say this is a heart, and then this is really not a terribly good idea, because again, not that there's nothing syntactically wrong with this, but when you name a variable, it should be as descriptive as possible. So if I'm calling a variable a spade, but I'm not giving it a spade, then I'm not calling a spade a spade. Okay. So, all right. So next time I'm going to start with JavaDoc, and this is also electronic, but I noticed that when I just had it electronic ran up and printed them all off. So they do a couple. Okay. So I think this is a fun little exercise. All the instance stuff are primitives, but this is actually a very useful little class to have. So.